So what is this answer? 3.75, 9 and 7.5, and total was I think 20.25, right? So this is the expected return considering all the scenarios, right? Now do we think that our actual return is going to be 20.25? No, because we understand that if recession is there, we are going to get 15%, which is different from our expected return. Then if economy remains at low growth, once again we can see it is different, no smaller difference, but there is a difference. And if high growth, then also there is a difference. So whatever we are expecting is not going to be the rate of return, right? So that has been the reason. This is actually known as risk. If you can look at carefully, the definition of risk said that your actual return being different than what you expected, right? So considering such situations, you are expecting something and actual outcome is different, then that is the situation of risk. Now next process is to measure this risk or quantify this risk. So how do we do that? So we have got a very simple method, right? In examination, whatever be the level, we are not going to be tested with this calculation of standard deviation, because financial planners are not expected to calculate all this. It is not like you should take, say, glance of it. No, it says that this is very easily done in Microsoft Excel. There are so many websites which are giving this data readily available. So what is expected from the planner is to understand and evaluate all those things. So this is purely a, say, UG level calculation, and it nowadays starts at school level, how to calculate standard deviation. So probably at our level, earlier examinations of CFP in year 2007-8, they were used to ask such questions, but when they completely revamped the curriculum in 2012, they actually brought this curriculum at par with global curriculum. So it clearly says that you should know how to do this. You should know how to interpret the outcomes, but they don't feel like testing how to calculate standard deviation. But still we do some questions in class so that we understand these things, how this goes, so interpretation becomes better. So the most common measure to calculate risk is standard deviation and variance. It shows how much variation or dispersion there is from the average. So see, this is our average return or expected average return. So 20.25 has been the return. Now actual return can be higher, lower, right? So it measures what? Your actual return being different than what you expected, right? So it indicates what? Dispersion, or I can simply use one simple word, that is deviation from the average. Now we can understand in this particular case, right, if this gap is really very high, so the difference between my expected return and actual return, in this case it is roughly 5%, right? Instead of this it would have been, say, 10% or 15%, right? So the greater the difference, higher is the deviation and higher is the risk. Lesser the deviation, there will be lesser risk. That is how it is to be understood. And it is really very important that we are comparing standard deviation based on what? This expected return. So any decision or any understanding which you are going to develop solely looking at what? Standard deviation, it doesn't serve the purpose. Standard deviation is calculated based on what? This mean level, right? So first we have to identify what's that mean, and on that average return, what is the standard deviation, right? That is what is very important for us to identify, right? Because most of the mutual fund evaluation tools, right, you must be using in real life, like Sharpe's ratio, Trainer's ratio, right, Jensen's alpha. They use all these tools, and that is what they are going to ask us in examination at any level. And yes, advance में bonds के question आते हैं. Recently, these students wrote an examination. They had a question on modified duration. I was overwhelmed, because I don't think India में कोई भी CFP student को duration और modified duration तक सिखाता होगा, because that is purely CFA concept, right? And it was there in the examination, right? So I was overwhelmed कि चलो FPSB को लग गया कि नहीं, ये पढ़ाते तो इनके student को तो पूछ लेते, but she didn't clear actually. ठीक है. So how to calculate standard deviation? So we use the sample data for our calculation. So this is the equation which is not supposed to be remembered by us. आई एम जस्ट शोइंग दिस, जस्ट लुक एट दिस सॉल्यूशन. मैं आपको ऐसे ही करवा देता हूँ बिकॉज आई हैव ऑल्सो नॉट बीन अ बिग फैन ऑफ ऑल दिस इक्वेशंस. नाउ लुक एट दिस. लॉजिकल चीजें हमें क्लियर हो तो फिर उसके टेक्निकल चीजें हमें समझनी चाहिए. दैट इज द फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल. सो लुक एट दिस. स्टॉक ए एंड स्टॉक बी, विच वन इज रिस्की? क्यों आपको बी रिस्की लगा? एग्जैक्टली इतना लॉजिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना चाहिए. सो दैट मीन्स यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन, व्हाट इज रिस्क. ये क्लियर हो गया. सो माय जॉब इज ओवर. अब मुझे जो आपको सिखाना है वो उसके टेक्निकलिटीज सिखानी है कि जो हमें विजुअली रिस्की लगा उसको हम मैथमेटिकली कैसे प्रूव करेंगे. राइट. सो वी स्टार्ट कैलकुलेटिंग व्हाट स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन ऑफ द स्टॉक. आई डू फॉर ए, यू विल बी डूइंग फॉर बी. So 15, 13, 12 and 18, right? These have been what? Percentage returns. Now since we are doing for past data, that is ex post, we have to first of all find out the mean return or say average return. It is going to be on simple average basis. चलो ये सबका टोटल कितना आ रहा है? 58, right? And if I have to find out simple average of this, this is to be divided by 4. So 14.5, right? So this is my average return. Now next step, because I have to capture what? Deviation from what? मुझे deviation किससे capture करना है? Mean level से. So next step is, what is that deviation? So return minus average return. So first case में it is 0.5, in the another case it is minus 1.5 if I'm not wrong. Yes, it is minus 2.5 and this is I think 3.5, right? So these are the deviations from the mean level. If I make total of it, it becomes 0. Does it mean there is no risk? No, absolutely no. We have visually seen that different returns means there is a risk. So now I have to do some mathematical magic. That magic says my negative data should become positive. However, my positive data must remain positive. ठीक है. सो सिंपली पॉजिटिव पॉजिटिव रहना चाहिए, नेगेटिव पॉजिटिव हो जाना चाहिए. तो ऐसा क्या फाइनेंशियल मैथमेटिक्स हम लगा सकते हैं? Can square it simply. Those who did a lot in BCom, they are very happy by looking at this calculation, but this is never going to be tested in exam. Don't worry. Average return, return minus average return का हम square कर रहे. So my college students always become delighted to look at these calculations coming back. But FPSB is really wicked. This is 0.25, this is 2.25, this is 6.25, and last one is? I don't know. No, it is not 9. Is it? Okay. So what do I do is, I can now make a total of all these deviations. 21 होना चाहिए, I think. If I'm still recollect this solution, it was 21. Now see, this is the total of all the deviations. अब देखो मैंने कौन सा इफेक्ट दिया था. एक तो ये सबका टोटल है, सो मुझे इक्वली डिवाइड करना पड़ेगा. दूसरा एडिशनल इफेक्ट मैंने क्या दिया था? स्क्वायर का दिया था, वो भी तो हटाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. सो व्हाट डू आई डू? सिंस it should have been ideally 4, but we are not getting into this. Sample data, population data, right? Different things are there. So we are not exactly getting into statistics, but what do we have to follow is a sample data. So sample data means n minus 1. So what is our n? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 data है ना? So n is equal to 4. And it is to be done n minus 1. So it is 3. So I say it is 7. And 7 is my variance. 7 is my variance. And if I say अब ये स्क्वायर का एडिशनल इफेक्ट मुझे हटाना है, सो दैट बिकम्स स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन, दैट इज स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 7. एंड इफ you have to see, we don't have to write, but otherwise to be technical it is 7% square, right? So if you have to write it, so standard deviation is square root of 7. कितना आता है? 2.65%, right? So can we say something like this? This is my average return. This is my average return. And what is the deviation from this average return? It is 2.65% on an average. Done. So ये deviation जितना ज़्यादा होगा, it is fairly and simply understandable that risk भी ज़्यादा होगा. ठीक है? Clear? Right? Now don't you think that, और आपको ऐसा लगता है कि you need an equation to solve this? No. Equations are always scary. मुझे तो phobia है उससे. I still don't believe कि मुझे statistics में कभी interest नहीं था. Still I have studied lot of finance. और मैं पास कैसे हुआ? Still it's a mystery. And I am teaching, that is an achievement. ठीक है, so we can repeat that for stock B. So what is the standard deviation? That seems correct. संतोष जी, आंसर 22% जितना है कुछ.
22.31. वेरिएंस कितना है? 497.67.
What is the average return? 25.5. True. अभी हाँ ये टोटल करो એટલે આપણે કન્ફર્મ કરીએ. કૃપાલી getting this? હા બસ કરો ઉતાવળ નથી. રોહિલ ठीक है. यस यस बोलो बोलो बोलो. क्या हुआ? एक थ्री करना है. दैट इज पॉपुलेशन डेटा. ये गलत नहीं है, बट हमें यूज करना है सैंपल डेटा.
सैंपल डेटा 4 है.
नहीं नहीं सैंपल नहीं है. दिस इज सी डेटा हमारे पास कितना है? 4 का है, राइट. सो इफ इट इज अ सैंपल, इफ आई से, तो मुझे क्या करना चाहिए? n-1 करना चाहिए. लॉजिक हम पूछते हैं ना, इनसे पूछते हैं, तो फिर मैं देता हूँ लॉजिक फॉर n-1.
एक्चुअली डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम डिडक्ट की जाती है. डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम है assumption इज दैट वी टुक इट स्क्वायर्ड. हां, तो उसको डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम टू नेग्लेक्ट दैट.
एग्जैक्टली. सो और वी कैन से वी आर एडिंग एरर टर्म टू दिस, है ना. पॉपुलेशन और सैंपल शुड बी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, बट इज इट ऑलवेज देयर? नो. And yes, some of the statistical tools says that you can also use n-2. ठीक है, वो पॉसिबल है, बिकॉज while reading on Wikipedia I came across n-2, n-3, वो भी पॉसिबल है. बट अगर आपका सैंपल पॉपुलेशन को रिलेट ही नहीं करता है, तो सैम्पलिंग का मतलब क्या है?
अगर 4 ही है तो n-2 n-3 करना है.
नहीं, दिस इज नॉट अ पॉपुलेशन, दिस इज सैंपल ओनली. हाँ
We have 4
हाँ
options available.
yes.
If it is limited then less than 4, so n-2 करना चाहूंगा तो करेक्ट
नहीं ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. n-1 ही है, दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट अ स्टैंडर्ड रूल, बट इट इज अ जनरल एक्सेप्टेंस कि n-1 करने से इट इज अ बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग.
So actually, स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन जो रहता है उसमें n-1 किया जाता है. Then there are certain tests, F test, T test जो रहते हैं bigger population के लिए, more than 100, more than 1000.
Right.
And that, as per the assumption that we take, उसके हिसाब से degrees of freedom बढ़ती जाती है.
So assumption when you say, so square के ऊपर भी जाओगे आप?
Square किया वो एक assumption था, right? ये उसको नेगेट किया. इसी तरह से जब टेस्ट बढ़ते हैं तो उसमें certain assumption लिए जाते हैं टेस्ट के हिसाब से, that we assume that this is a normal population and not other. तो उस वक्त उसको फिर assumption गिन के n-2 degrees of freedom आती है this time. और वैसे ही n-3. So
limited sample में we can assume n-1.
And this is not tested in exam. वो भी clear है, because the biggest challenge while teaching in all these our traditional courses like CA, CS, ICWA, some of the questions have been done using sample data, some of the questions have been done using population data. There is no standardization. अपने में ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. They don't ask it. Don't worry. Now next question. So do we do this quickly? चलो एक बार और फटाफट थोड़ा. It is there in your book also. It is here. फटाफट आप करते चलो. It is 7 ठीक है. So it is 7% something done. So that is the standard deviation. So we know this now. Okay. Now that was the past data. Now we introduce which kind of data? The one which has got some expectancy. So we introduce expectation, means it is probability. So we introduce a question which has got some probability. So this is the thing. Now definitely अब यहाँ पर visually वो clear नहीं होगा. Yes, reason is जो हमने past में data देखा था, it suggested that every event, or rather इसको हम लेते every year you had a return, but every year ये जो return था हमने equal weight concept लेके काम किया. Right, so every return was given equal weightage, and that was the reason we divided it by 4. Right, so if you would have multiplied everything with 0.25 or straight away हमने divide by 4 किया, answer would have been same. Right, so here we worked on the concept of equal weight, but that is not the case here because we have to assume probability as the weight. ठीक है, so फटाफट इसका भी कैलकुलेशन मैं आपको दिखा देता हूँ. How do we do this? A का मैं करता हूँ, then B you would be doing. So we introduce probability. I write this way: 0.10, 0.20, 0.40, then 0.20 and 0.10. Right? These have been the probabilities. And what have been the rates of return? Say this is -10, then 15, 28, then 12 and 5. Now next step is to find out average return, जो हमने आगे ढूंढा था. अब यहाँ पर since we have got probability and we have done it previously, so what do I do is I multiply probability with return. So it is -1, this is 3, you sure? नहीं, 28 को 40% गिनोगे तो 1 पॉइंट थोड़ी आएगा, 11 पॉइंट आएगा ना, 11.2. ठीक है, दिस इज 2.4 एंड दिस इज 0.5. नाउ वी कैन मेक अ टोटल ऑफ ऑल दिस. $16.1. So this is straight away the expected return, right? And calculation goes same way as we did last time, but हाँ थोड़ा बहुत modification रहेगा. Now next step is to do what? Return minus expected return. There we did average return. अब यहाँ पर हमें सीधा ये weighted average ही मिल गया. So this is not to be divided with any of the thing. बराबर है ना. So it is return minus expected return. Now this is not my return. My returns are here. It is -10 minus 16.1. It is return minus expected return. This is not the return. This is the return. So -10 minus 16.1. So it comes to minus 26.1. This is going to be minus 1.1. 28 minus 16.1, so it is going to be how much? 11.9, if I'm not wrong. This is going to be minus 4.1 and this is going to be minus 11.1. Once again the same technique, right? So we need to square this. It is return minus expected return square. Going to be some big numbers, definitely. कितना आया 81.21 देन अच्छा दिस इज 1.21 141.61 this is 16.81 and this is going to be something very close to 123 कितना है
123 सेकंड माइनस कैसे रहेगा 1
and now this is 123.21 do we make a total answer is still no because वहां पर हमने टोटल करके इक्वल वेट का इफेक्ट दिया था डिवाइड करके विच इज नॉट पॉसिबल हियर बिकॉज सिंस वी आर वर्किंग ऑन व्हाट वेटेड एवरेज काइंड ऑफ थिंग सो अब और एक मस्त मल्टीप्लीकेशन आपको करना है दैट इज प्रोबेबिलिटी इनटू रिटर्न माइनस एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न स्क्वायर सो दिस इज द कॉलम टू बी मल्टीप्लाइड विथ प्रोबेबिलिटी इट इज कुड बी इजी 68.12 ये होगा पॉइंट कितना 24 दिस इज 56.64 How much is this? 3.36. Now we can make a total of this.
सर ये एग्जाम में इतना आता है
नहीं आता, मैं पहले से ही बता रहा हूँ, ये नहीं आएगा एग्जाम में. एट नन ऑफ द लेवल इट इज गोइंग टू बी आस्क्ड. इसीलिए मैं इतना कुछ फोकस भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ. हम सिर्फ इसको कैलकुलेट कैसे करना है उसको थोड़ा सीख लेते बाय चांस. बिकॉज व्हेन आई रोट एडवांस फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग आई हैड अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन विद प्रोबेबिलिटी and I only could solve it. जितने भी, I think it was how many people, 23 people writing together this examination. हम दो ही जने पास हुए थे. There was one girl, she was CA and another was me. बाकी सब फेल. और मुझे ये क्वेश्चन मिला था जो बाकी किसी को नहीं मिला था. सॉरी, बाकी किसी को ये सॉल्व नहीं हुआ था. सॉरी, सेड इट रॉन्गली. वो टाइम पे सिमुलेशन नहीं था. अभी तो सिमुलेटेड एग्जाम्स है.
क्वेश्चन सेम रहता है.
क्वेश्चन अगर आप दो साथ में लिख रहे हैं, आप दोनों का सेम केस स्टडी निकला तो भी क्वेश्चन अलग होंगे. क्वेश्चन सेम होंगे तो उसका ऑर्डर भी अलग होगा. फिक्स. हाँ नहीं, एवरीथिंग इज फेयर इन एग्जाम्स. बाकी की चीज यू नो. हाँ, बट एग्जाम क्लियर होने के बाद एथिक्स फॉलो करेंगे ना. हाँ, पहले एग्जाम क्लियर होना चाहिए. कुछ भी कर लेंगे, कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. ओपन बुक में दे दूंगा ना तो भी कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा. दैट इज द चैलेंज. मैं आपको पूरे के पूरे केस स्टडी का बंडल दे देता हूँ. मेरे पास जितना पड़ा हुआ है दैट इज रफली 100 में 48 to 50 जितने उससे भी ज़्यादा केस स्टडीज है, सब दे देता हूँ विद सॉल्यूशन. तो भी एग्जाम का क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं होगा. बिकॉज एडवांस का लेवल अलग है, राइट. एंड मैक्सिमम स्टूडेंट्स फ्रॉम हियर क्लियर दिस. सो दैट मीन्स अब मुझे भी कॉन्फिडेंस है कि क्या लेवल पे लेके जाना होता है सबको. सो दैट वी डू. चलो इसका टोटल बताओ अभी. 140.69. ठीक है. अब इसको किसी भी चीज से डिवाइड करने का जरूरत नहीं है बिकॉज वेट का इफेक्ट मैंने इसमें ऐड कर दिया नहीं कर दिया. आई हैव डन इट. आई हैव ऑलरेडी टेकन केयर ऑफ वेट्स. So this will straight away be known as what? Variance, right? So now what is the standard deviation? It is 140.69. It is 12.02 percentage. So now you can understand this is my mean level and this is the risk on that. Yes, yes, bolo bolo. બોલો બોલો કૃપાલી શું થયું 11.86. Okay, I change it. Is this okay? 140.69. This is 11.86. हाँ 11.86 ही है ठीक है. So is that the answer? Clear? So quickly solve B part of it. चलो हो गया done. So we look at another question, right? So this is the question which we are not exactly going to solve, but we understand this question to get some say more idea about the concept. It says that Mr. Mitesh, a research analyst with a leading brokerage firm, has the following expectation on stock D, stock W and Nifty for the next 1 year. Now see, in this particular question and the previous question which we did, what is the significant difference you find out? There were smaller numbers, here it is big numbers. Is that the difference? Exactly. So here we are given prices, not the returns. So these have been the different prices with their expectations given for both the stocks and Nifty. Now present price of the stock D is 2800 and that of the stock W is 7500 and for Nifty it is 4160. Now what do we do is we have to say calculate standard deviation for this particular data. How do we do it? We are not going to solve this completely, but I am just going to explain how the first step is to be calculated. Right, so expected return, those things can definitely be asked. See, standard deviation may not be asked, but you can definitely be asked how to find out expected return. So what is the current price of stock D? 2800. And you all will agree that all these prices belongs to next year only, right? So these are not prices of year 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. First of all, these are all the prices of next year with different probabilities or say different possibilities. So if price after a year is 4000, then what is the percentage return? Can we? Batao. So if current price is 2800 and stock becomes 4000, then what is the percentage return? 42.85. Exactly. So you can use PVFV function, all yours. Another is we can also use that basic equation, that is P1 minus P0 wala equation. 4000 minus 2800 divided by 2800 into 100. So how much is it? Same PVFV and this calculation is going to give same return. So 42.8. So that is the first return, and which has got a probability of say 5% or 0.05. Now what is the second return? Right, so it is 3800 minus what? 2800 or 4000? 2800, correct. So divide by 2800, because you got it correctly, because these are the prices. This is the price right now and these have been the different prices which can prevail next year. Right, so all are next year prices. So what is the second return? 30.71, and it has got a probability of 0.15. That's it. I'm not solving it further. So you got the logic how to proceed when the question is given what? Prices. Right. So we can find out first of all returns from the prices, and once returns are ready, it becomes like the previous question as we did.